everybody to our second regular scheduled July City Council meeting. I do call this meeting to order, and as always, we'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have Sandy read the open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And would you also take roll for us, Sandy?
Brian Smith.
Here.
Steve Hackett.
Here.
Deb Bensky.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
John Lockwood.
Here.
Jillian Peterson.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present. We have a quorum.
The consent agenda are items that we'll take with one motion and 1 second and 1 vote. Are there any items that council members would like to see moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda?
I'd like to see the City Plan Commission minutes taken out of there.
Okay. So, do you have action on that, or you just want to discuss it? Alan?
I haven't had a chance to read through them yet completely, and there are a couple of issues that I do want to talk about.
Okay, so let's put that, well, let's just do it right at the end of new business. We'll do the city planning minutes as letter I under the regular agenda. Make sure you remind me when we get to that part if I forget. Okay, anything else that council members would like to see changed from the consent agenda to the regular agenda? If not, we'll take a motion to approve that agenda with that one adjustment.
Second?
Have a motion by Lockwood, second by Keelan, that we approve the consent agenda with that one deletion, the minutes of the city planning moved to the regular agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, under the regular agenda, you have some minutes that are sitting on your desk that from later meetings last week. You had the city planning on there. Also the public hearing for city planning. You had the Board of Review, which was held last Thursday morning. And then you also had Parks and Recreation Board minutes, which was last Thursday evening. They held that meeting. Besides that, I think that's it. We would need a motion to approve that regular agenda with the one addition, of course, of the city planning minutes on there now. So moved. Second. We have a motion by Lockwood, second by Peterson, that we approve the regular agenda with that one addition and the handouts of the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, under non-agenda items and announcements, we do have one proclamation that we'd like to read, and I thought before I read that, Marcy, maybe you could just I could put you to work and just tell us why we're doing this and what you have planned. And
Okay. Oh, I'm live. All right. Test 1, 2. Thanks for having me here, and I've got a couple other of our Arts Board members here with me tonight, Patty Vo and Jan Owen. I'm Marcy Reynolds, and I'm with the Waupaca Community Arts Board, and we're here to just listen to our mayor honoring creativity in our city. I just noticed it's part of the city mission, actually, which is kind of awesome, to lead creatively. So we all know there's tons of research on creativity and how it expands economic and intellectual growth in the citizens and the economy of the city. So Arts on the Square is sort of just a combination of all kinds of creativity and celebrating the arts in our community. A lot of local artists, a lot of local food vendors, a lot of retailers get involved. It's really grown. This is our 8th annual festival. And every year we're seeing more and more people kind of jumping on board, whether it's getting involved to help plan or just create other offshoot activities. One of the neatest things we have done every year is our community art project. And last year, you probably remember, we did that metal tile pouring thing. And that's just turned into this phenomenal project that's going to end up being installed officially at South Park. So we're super proud of that. And actually, the thing about that is, we did the initial legwork in getting it to happen and writing the Wisconsin Arts Board grant. But it just took on a life of its own. So right now the foundry has got all the tiles. They're constructing this huge, heavy metal thing. We're calling it a sculpture. And that's going to be installed at South Park. We've had a lot of involvement and support from Aaron and the city, Park and Rec, the foundry, and there's at least 4 other businesses that have helped create the sculpture by cleaning the tiles, painting the tiles, donating the metal structure that they've used their engineer to design. So that's just an example of a community art project and what it really means. So this year, the community art project, just so you know, is going to be something completely different. It's going to be what we're going to call World Radio Tent. It'll be a 4-hour presentation, sort of I guess people can be involved. The Ladkeys, everybody know John Ladkey? He's one of the Ladkey kids. He's been involved with radio at UW-Point when he was in college there and does this program called World Radio, where you just kind of blend anything from all over the world, but then also your own local culture. So it's music, talk, interviews, and things like that. So we've got quite a lineup for that. And the neat thing about the World Radio Tent is we've been able to engage the future local public radio station board. And so this is something that they're going to be using to sort of get the word out about, and I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with WAUP. I don't know if that's made it quite public yet, but they've been working on it since I moved here in '84. So like 30 years, they've been trying to get the FCC bandwidth and all the things that are very, very complicated involved with a radio station. So they're going to be sort of hosting this radio program. It's going to be a virtual podcast. It'll be live on the computer, and it'll be a way for them to become more public and get the word out about their radio station, which they're apparently about this close to launching. So it's just going to be a really cool example of, again, community coming together. They're going to be interviewing a lot of the Japanese exchange students, the host families, all the different Rotary host families and students that are around. And so it's just going to be a really cool event. So I'm babbling on, but anyway, that's Arts on the Square. It's a really great event. So we couldn't do it without the support of the city. That's been our fundamental support all along from the room tax grant that we've been receiving every year. So we really appreciate you guys being our first and biggest sponsor. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mars.
And I'll just pass these cards around.
Sure.
This is our save the date card.
Thank you. At this time, then, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. This is a proclamation, Arts Appreciation Month. Whereas the Waupaca community has a long history of volunteers coming together to promote the arts and arts appreciation, from a few dedicated people working to provide artistic exposure to the community, our arts community has grown to include a very sizable artist community and many different arts organizations and arts-related businesses of all kinds. Thanks. Whereas the arts not only provide entertainment, self-expression, and community building, but also create environments that promote innovation, curiosity, and ingenuity. Exposure to the many different kinds of artistic expression stimulates the development of creative solutions to both new and old challenges and a thinking outside the box mentality that is so vitally needed in today's world. Whereas the many different arts organizations and arts-related businesses in our area enhance our economy, bring in many tourist dollars, and make our community a more vital, robust, and dynamic place to live and visit, our active arts community is a wonderful human complement to the natural beauty for which we have long been known. Whereas it is more the appropriate to honor and celebrate our dynamic and thriving artistic community with the month of August as Arts Appreciation Month. Now therefore, I, Brian Smith, Mayor, City of Waupaca, do hereby proclaim the month of August as Arts Appreciation Month. In testimony whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the great seal of the City of Waupaca and the great state of Wisconsin this 15th day of July, 2014. And this will be on file. Thanks, and good luck to you guys. All right, thanks. Let's move on then to public input. If we have anybody that's in the audience or council members or staff that are interested in talking to us, speaking to us on a non-agenda item, please step up to the podium and give your name and address for the record, and limit your time to 5 minutes or less. Any public input?
Brian, I would like to thank and show my appreciation for the July 4th, particularly the band concert that was held on, the busy weekend. The band members, Director Krishek did a great job and really had a great turnout. I thought it was a very positive addition. It happened to be right on a Friday that they performed. It was great.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Goes along with our arts, obviously. So, thanks, Dave. Anybody else? If not, we'll move on to department announcements and reports, and we'll start with Jeannie. Jeannie.
All of my reports are in the packet, and it shows that half the year is finished, and our percentages look great in the revenues and in the expenses. Cash flow is looking good, and as this time of year, the payrolls jumps up about 20,000 each payroll because of all the summer activities and the help we have. So that's when our cash flow gets a little bit tighter, but we're doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Anybody have any questions of Jean? Comments? All right, let's move on to the library. Beck?
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Well, this summer we're really all about science and exploring STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. But in the exhibit room, we have a discovery zone, and every day there's a different activity, and I thought the best way to show you what's going on at the library tonight, rather than telling you, was to show you. So I need a friend to help me. Jean, can you be a friend? How about Mr. Peterson? Okay, so I'm just going to ask you to hold that end. And the idea is we're going to guess how many times it will take me to fill this windbag. And what we're going to show is that I've got
Which windbag are we talking
about? I thought about asking John to do this, but okay. So, hypothesis, how many breaths is it going to take me to fill this windbag?
One.
Okay. Well, I'm not going very far with that, am I? Okay, so now if we do a different tack, and John may be right, a single breath. Okay, so now we look at what is the science behind that. What has to do with the atmospheric pressure and the fact that along with my breath blowing into this windbag, we also have the rush of pressure because there's lower pressure on the outside. So it took me one breath to show that I'm a really big windbag. Anyway, lots of fun going on at the library. Please stop in and see us. We have the Discovery Zone, and in addition to that, we have a special program tomorrow called Get Excited About Science, and it's a show at 1:30, and it'll last about 45 minutes. Everyone's invited. We hope you all join us. We do have a capacity of 225 people in the meeting room, so we're hoping to fill that up. We also have Spark a Reaction, our adult and teen programs for the summer. We have record numbers participating this year in both programs. And we're participating along with the businesses to find Waldo in the community. So we're also inviting everybody to come in and find Waldo in our children's department. A big thing that's happening next month during the Arts Month is that we're going to be asking everyone in Waupaca to read To Kill a Mockingbird. And we're starting that off with a cooperation with Park and Rec, having an outdoor film at South Park on the 22nd of August. All of these details are on our website, and I hope that you'll visit that and find that information there. One more thing, on the 31st of July, we're inviting you to the meeting rooms for a program on Wisconsin's gangster past. And we have author Chad Lewis coming for that program at 6 o'clock. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Peg. Any comments, questions for Peg? Brennan, you have any visuals for us?
It's a hard act to follow.
John?
Quiet today.
No dump trucks today.
Brennan, thank you.
John? Thank you, Mayor Smith. The strategic plan will be coming to the council next month, the first meeting in August. Working with myself along with the team to finish up that report a little bit. We've heard some comments and some concerns from other business owners along Main Street. So taking a little twist and revising some of that aspect to hopefully address some of their concerns regarding some of the Main Street businesses and some of the recent closures that we've seen and vacancies that are coming up. With Main Street, we're looking to work with the Main Street Visioning Committee, but also the possibility of having some form of a possible listening session or open event. That's still to be determined, but to try to address some of the concerns immediately, or at least come up with an action plan or strategy to combat some of the problems that are arising with the businesses in downtown. With the strategic plan winding down, we've been able to refocus a little bit on some of the interdepartment stuff and some of the information that's going out on the website. You'll see in Josh's report that there was a huge spike in our website within the last month, so that's definitely a positive to see that more people are utilizing that information, and have spoken to some people that have gone on the website and some tweaks that we still need to do, but definitely a lot more user-friendly, and information is being given to people a lot easier. At the Plan Commission last week, Tom Barron, who from East Central Wisconsin Regional Plan Commission, and I kind of did the initial kickoff meeting for our zoning code. That'll be one of the next larger projects that my department will be working on, looking to move towards a newer zoning code that could be more graphically depicting and a lot more user-friendly and developer-friendly. So that's going to be about a year and a half long project, and we'll be utilizing the website and other social media to get this information out. It will be a very transparent process, and be working with business owners and landowners within the community to address some of the needs and concerns that we have. The Main Street project visioning committee is still moving forward. The next meeting is scheduled for next week, Monday, July 21st at 5:30 at Farmer State Bank. We're probably going to have we're hoping to have a report done by the end of this year or early first quarter of 2015. We'll probably have about 2 or so more meetings. There's going to be more of a data collecting process, and then we'll start really hitting the meat and potatoes of kind of putting things down on paper and getting some options out there for future consideration by the City Council. Project base wise, Kubrick Fabrication is working on their 36,000 square foot addition, working on a couple issues that we have right now with their site plan and engineering, but that project is progressing. Subway was approved at the Plan Commission meeting last week. Construction is probably anticipated to start later this fall. That's going to be right in front of the Village Inn Hotel on Fulton Street. Still working with the landowner for the former craft facility in Fulton Street. Looking to meet with him again probably later this month or next month. And we've had some inquiries from Bethany Homes about a possible renovation and expansion at their facility. That's been targeted for a couple years. They've gone through a couple different strategic studies, and they just recently did a new one and hired a new consultant. And on a positive, within the last couple of weeks, we've had some more uptake in inquiries about land within our industrial park and some vacant industrial buildings within the city. So that's definitely a positive as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Brennan. Any questions, comments for Brennan? Thanks. Public Works, John?
With the completion of the South Park shelter, we focused back on maintenance functions in our department. Water service repairs, water main leaks have been repaired. We did a citywide leak study with a consultant, and we're going after making those repairs now. Doing catch basin repairs that have failed in the city. You'll see us out doing pavement marking, pavement painting, turf maintenance around town on our city properties. Sidewalk patching and just other ongoing functions. We've got a few other projects we're working on. Chain Lake Sanitary District Agreement, we'll be meeting with Kempfer and the chain this Friday. We have an award tonight for a piece of equipment at the treatment plant. Hillcrest and Fulton Street project engineering design is ongoing. We have some work upcoming with Quick Trip Roof, the old Quick Trip Roof, and Royalton Street, Bethany water main projects, some minor water main projects that we're working with Omni on to get a DNR permit so that we can improve our system regarding that. Regarding percentages, our street division, with 50% of the year completed, we're at 44%. Water is at 48%, and sewer is at 40%.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Any questions, John? Thanks. Let's go to Parks and Rec. Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of announcements. We just found out last Thursday in our park board meeting from John Kinnear, who's a member, who is also a member of the JCs. Good news and bad news. The JCs looks like they're going to be disbanding because of lack of membership and lack of interest at this point. The good news is that they are donating $11,000 towards the playground at Brainerd's Bridge Park. If you guys remember, the JCs did some work to put that new playground in there a few years back. They've left space towards the driveway, towards the shelter to add additional playground equipment, and that is what that money is going to be going towards. That looks like it's going to be happening sometime a weekend in September. They have not picked a weekend to do it yet, but it'll all be donated time on the JC's part. So if anyone's looking to volunteer and help out in September, I will be sure to shoot you a date and make that an option for you. I did want to mention this happened in June. I don't think I mentioned to the council, but the Waupaca Foundry did donate $4,700 towards renovating the fishing pier at Lower South Park. We did have an injury there a year back, and we do want to take all the decking off of that, replace the wood decking, railing, and a couple buoys. So that'll be happening as a fall/winter project. And the foundry also is looking to actually supply some volunteer workers to help Josh with that project as well. South Park fees were set at our park board meeting, and what we decided to do is park board wanted to keep it the same for resident and non-resident, $50 for a resident and $70 for a non-resident. However, there will be an additional $20 charge for the use of the kitchen, which what we'll do is we'll hand out we have a key code, a one-time use that we can hand out for the people that would like to do that. There's also an additional $30 deposit for that the renter will get back. That is pretty much in line with other parks. Pretty much from $40 to $70 is what you'll see in this area for park shelter rentals. Some go by capacity, others do not. We have not gone by capacity to this point. Marcy mentioned the South Park art piece. We're working with the Arts Board and Mike Hemela on that from the Waupaca Foundry. Looks like we're going to have our next meeting to discuss what the progress is on August 8th, but I'm shooting for an installation date of August 18th, but have not heard back from Mike on that yet, and they would like to recognize the piece at Fallorama, which is on September 20th. We do have soccer that started this week. That's our second largest youth program. That's out at the chain school for one more year, and then we are moving over to Waupaca High School. We have gotten confirmation from Carl Hayek and some school officials that they are in the process of drafting up a contract/agreement that will basically let us use that facility in a continuous agreement for years to come here. So that's great news. We also have rec, baseball, and softball that wrapped up this week. Kickball, pleased to say that we are going to give that a go. We got 5 teams signed up, and that starts this Sunday. That's a co-ed league at Swan Park. And then Peg did mention a movie night at South. One of the movies that we're going to be showing, the movie that the Park and Rec Department is showing, is August 8th. That's the Lego movie, and then we are working with the library, as she said, on August 22nd. For To Kill a Mockingbird. So we will have 2 movies in South Park coming up. Chess Club is running. We have over 20 participants, which is great for a first-year program. The Senior Center rummage sale will be August 14th and 15th. That's a big fundraiser for Terry and the Senior Center, so encourage anyone to stop down there if you have some time. And then right now we're just working on the fall program brochure, fall and winter program, I should say. That will be distributed to everyone that has the buyer's guide. We'll also get it in the schools, but that'll be coming out August 13th on a Wednesday. And then August 5th, we have our staff retreat for our needs assessment, and August 14th, we'll have our park board retreat, and we should have our planning process, strategic plan, pretty much wrapped up after that August 14th date. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions?
I got a question for Aaron.
Okay.
I remember talking about the one-time code use for the park,
Yep.
the shelter. Is it literally one-time use, or is it like for a 24-hour period, or how does that work?
It's a one-time use code, which is a good question because we've thought about as soon as someone closes that door, there's a problem.
So it is literally a one-time use, so if it shuts behind them.
Correct.
Prop
So
the
what
door.
we're doing right now, we actually had something go wrong with our keypad, and we're getting one replaced, but it's not till the end of July. So right now we are giving a key out, and then they get that key back, or if they turn the key in, they'll get their deposit back. And unless we can find, we don't know all the details with this key thing yet, the new one that we're getting. Ideally, we would like it to be like a 24-hour or a timed code. The current systems that we have, that is not the case. But obviously, you could see where that would cause a problem. We're going to be getting a lot of calls on Saturdays if that's the case. So we're working on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
All right, thanks. Chief Koch.
Thanks, Mayor. My memo and monthly reports in your packet. Budget-wise, as John said, 50% of the fiscal year, we're about 44 3/4. We tabled that action again regarding location of our meetings to next month until we get a full meeting of all the members of the Police Commission. And finally, we continue to discuss our needs for adding a position. In fact, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be forming an internal committee to review and formalize our needs assessment related to that staffing, and we'll be bringing that forward probably within the next 2 months or so. Other than that, it's informational.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions, comments? The Chief. All right, Henry.
Just a couple items, Mayor. Don't forget to vote. Our primary is just right around the corner, Tuesday, August 12th. I know Sandy and some of her election workers are going to be doing some absentee voting already this week, so that process is moving forward. Also, just again, a reminder, you all, most of you sat in on the insurance presentations. Dennis Trudell did contact me after the meeting and offered to provide some training for elected officials. It's for sort of their liability insurances, and if we take the training, we get a $700, I believe $600 or $700 reduction on the premium. We thought we'd try to schedule that as soon as possible, and we've got it tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, September 2nd. You got that right date, Mayor? All right. Write it down. It's about 45 minutes, so
What time, Henry?
5:15. hopefully everybody can make it.
Yeah, it's the second.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
Down here?
Yes. And we'll make sure you know that when you get the packet for that meeting. As Tim has said, we're halfway through the budget. My departments are at about 42%. So that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Henry. Any questions or comments for Henry? All right, let's move on to new business then. We have a special use permit for Dean Zanella, which is the subway that Brennan was talking about. Brennan, go ahead.
Yep, thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. This action item in front of you this evening is to allow Dean Zanella to actually construct the subway within the B4 zoning district, which this property is currently zoned. It requires a special use permit for sandwich and restaurant type of facilities. So the action item in front of you this evening is just to allow him to construct the restaurant. The site plan was already taken care of at the Plan Commission last week.
All right.
Question?
Sure, go ahead.
There was to be a follow-up meeting between John Edelbeck and Zanella's engineering group?
Yes, I met with their engineer. We worked through all the items on my review list. I went through the proposed modifications to the layout, specifically parking and landscape with Brennan. I think, speaking for Brennan, I think he's satisfied with that as in his position. And I have not heard back from Dean or their engineer on that. But I'm assuming it's going to be correct. We were 1 or 2 parking stalls lower. So I think 17 was the requirement. I think we were 1 to 2 short of that.
But you're proposing eliminating 6 of them.
This is not, that's the site plan that was done at the Plan Commission. This is specifically the special use permit to allow the construction of the restaurant. The site plan action items were taken place at the Plan Commission. I can say that I spoke with Dean. He was in my office yesterday, and he has seen the revisions that John and the engineering company came up with, and he is in acceptance of those requirements. The property does have a cross-access easement with the adjacent hotel, along with a cross-parking easement as well, so any parking that Dean may be losing on the property is handled by the cross-parking easement shared agreement with the hotel adjacent to it.
And the issues of the color scheme?
Those are going to be addressed later this year. Dean's not worried about those at this time. He has the new material block. He stopped in to discuss a couple different options, but as he told me, he had to speak with his wife about the final color choices.
And the reason I bring this up, folks, is at the Planning Commission meeting, I raised the issue. I was bothered by the fact that our departments have rather arbitrary process in allowing certain colors to be used for construction. And what I thought was a reasonable choice of colors by these people, by Subway, apparently was not reasonable for some other folks on staff. And when you get into the issue of aesthetics, I think we're treading on very, very thin ice. And so I was concerned about that, and I bring it up as part of this meeting also. I don't know if you had a chance to look through the materials that were handed on it, but the color scheme was one of those issues that came up. And as I say, I'm not sure that we should be in the process of dictating colors for construction.
Okay, so let's make sure that we understand this. What we're voting on here is a special use permit, which is just to allow a restaurant in a B4 zoning. What Alan has talked about was the site plan review, and although I appreciate his concerns, and I think that that's something that city planning needs to discuss at a future time, these items that he brought up tonight, and I'm glad that he made you aware of his concerns. I think this is something that will start at the City Planning Commission and then come back to council at a future time if there are going to be any revisions to this. But again, tonight, we are just talking about allowing a restaurant in a B4 commercial area. It has nothing to do with color schemes or parking spaces or signage or anything like that. It's just to allow this restaurant. Okay?
I move to approve the special use permit.
Second?
We have a motion by Olson, second by Lockwood, that we approve of issuing a special use permit for Dean Zanella Investments Property LLC, which is at 1050 West Fulton Street. And this, of course, is going to be a Subway restaurant. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Jillian Peterson,
Aye.
Deb Fensky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
and Paul Mayo.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right. Thanks, Brennan. Let's move on then to City of Waupaca's storm ready plan. And this is Alderman Paul Mayo.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of small items that were discussed at the City Emergency Planning Committee meeting. First, having to do with communication to city residents. The first suggested change to the storm ready plan was to replace Nixle with Code Red. And we've discussed Code Red at past meetings. It's a much better communication system, much more efficient. And that's just now documented in the storm ready plan. And the other change is to change the name of the first responders from first responders to emergency responders. The committee discussed this and voted to recommend council approve of these changes, and I move council accept this recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayo, second by Fensky, that we approve of those two changes that Alderperson Mayo had suggested for the storm ready plan. Any discussion? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Deb Fensky,
Aye.
Jillian Peterson,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
Aaron Olson,
Aye.
Eric Olson. I said Aaron, sorry. Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
and Dave Peterson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thanks, Sandy. And thanks, Paul. Let's move on to the wastewater grit classifier and cyclone furnish, whatever that is. Help us out, John.
Okay. In the month of June, we put together a request for proposals and solicited 3 firms. On July 1st, we opened sealed bids then relating to the grit classifier at the wastewater treatment plant. It's an 18-year-old or 19-year-old piece of equipment that is worn out, heavy, difficult environment for work. So we were satisfied with the life of that. Current hydro gritter is a Wemco hydro gritter that we're removing and replacing. We received 2 sealed bids from Crane Engineering. One was for a Waste Tech Coosters and one for another Wemco hydro gritter. We're recommending the award to Crane Engineering for the hydro gritter in the amount of $51,060. There are usable parts on the current hydro gritter, and amazingly, after almost 20 years, there's very little upgrade. Most things after a year they change the design, but it's a pretty basic piece of equipment. There are items that we can reuse, and we would take off of the old hydro gritter if we do replace it with this new one versus the Waste Tech Coosters. The piece of equipment there now, there'd be very little changes to the plumbing, the framing, electrical, basically remove and replace what's there, and we also expect a shorter delivery time. So we did budget $75,000 in the approved wastewater budget this year, and we're recommending award to Crane Engineering of Kimberly for the Wemco hydro gritter, furnish and install, for the amount, submitted bid amount not to exceed $51,060.
Okay, we would need a motion to approve this then?
I'll make that into a motion.
Second.
Motion by Lockwood, second by Hackett, that we approve of the bid from Crane Engineering of Kimberly, Wisconsin in the amount of $51,060. Any discussion?
John, why did we only get bids from one?
Well, we specifically solicited two other firms. We did get a call the day of the bid. One firm wanted to fax over their bid, which we told them that would not be acceptable. So, I don't know. I mean, beyond that, they had the ability to. I don't know why they would not have responded to that. We mailed the bid packages to them directly a month ahead of time. So, I don't know if they, I can't answer for you. We didn't talk to them after the fact.
Are the parts that you're gonna salvage from the old hydro grid are gonna be just replacement parts, or are you gonna be using those right away with the new one?
No, they'll be replacement. Yeah. And, you know, those parts have lasted almost 20 years. And in case we do have a piece down, we could possibly use those if we're ordering a new part or something in the interim too. So I think just the value of having them there and available to us would be of benefit.
John, the $75,000 budget amount that we had, that was just we didn't hire somebody to give us an estimate.
No,
when we
no.
did the budget.
That was an estimate going in, not knowing exactly what type of modification specifically on the install. We expected the piece of equipment to be around 50,000, but you know, not knowing what we would have to modify, there's a possibility to have to modify additional piping, concrete channels, all those types of things, and we didn't know going in, so that was our estimate.
Okay. And by using the same one, we're not gonna have to modify anything? Is that what you're saying? Or you
Yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
yet?
even if we awarded the Waste Tech Coosters, there would be changes, but there'd be fewer changes with the Wemco. It's a device that's on a metal frame, steel frame. The frame probably will be reused. The plumbing will unbolt and bolt right back in, versus a different model, different brand, you'd have to make some plumbing changes, and that's why the install is a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Ready to vote? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Deb Fensky,
Aye.
Jillian Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
and Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thanks, John. License report number 1237. Henry, it's got your name next to it, so.
Thank you. Grit classifier, science at work, Peg. Items 2 or D and E are kind of related to the same. It's Little Fat Gretchens. The first has to do with gaming devices or coin-operated machines. You probably wonder why we have it up here, because they've said 0, right? Well, now they're documented to have 0, so if we ever, you know, locate one in there during the year, then we know kind of what the baseline is. So that's one item action, and then the second one has to do with their beer and wine license, and it is contingent on the chief and others inspecting the premise, and I do not know where that stands. Chief, have you done?
Typically, I wouldn't go out until it goes to council.
Okay.
It'll be done tomorrow.
Okay. So that's, we won't issue the license, assuming you approve, we won't issue the license till all the inspections are done. And then, of course, we check and make sure that all city fines and fees are paid before we issue it. Probably should do those as separate items, Mayor, I'm assuming?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking for approval of license report number 1237 to start with, which is the arcade amusement device license.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion by Lockwood, a second by Keelan, that we approve of license report number 1237. Discussion.
I'm just curious just to know why are we voting on this if it's zero and it's gonna stay zero? Not sure why we're doing this.
Well, I guess it's to officially accept the fact that they're reporting zero. And that was a question that Barb asked of me, whether we should even have this on here. And I guess I just thought to officially have it recorded. Now, again, I don't suspect that they're gonna come in and bring a pool table or something, but, you know, they declared 0 devices, so I guess probably just to err on, to be safe, is sort of what my thinking was.
Other places that have 0, get a permit for those places?
Well, probably most of them report, because they most have devices.
Well, there's one that doesn't, and in T-dubs, and we are on the, when we vote on them all at once, we're on that list as having 0. So it's been done before.
So are they charged a fee for having 0? No. Oh, okay.
But it's a thought, Scott.
Well, no, I don't want them to be charged for a license when they don't have any devices, is what my point was.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right. Any other discussion on license report number 1237? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, now we have license report number 1238, which is a request from Little Fat Gretchen's to have a Class B fermented malt beverage license and a Class C wine license, and this is pending the chief's approval.
I'll make a motion, we approve license report number 1237.
38.
8, sorry. I got tied up with 37, yeah.
Motion by Hackett, second by Lockwood, that we approve of license report number 1238. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, letter F, we have a request from the Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce, and as long as Jeff is here, I'll have him step up to the podium and just tell us what's going on here.
Good evening. Thank you. I was contacted a while back by a group, the Badger Heritage Antique Motorcycle Club of Wisconsin. They are recreating a ride that happened back in 1934 from State Fair Park in Milwaukee to downtown Waupaca. The connection to Waupaca, as best as I can determine, is there's a Harley-Davidson family connection, and they have a cottage and property in Saxville. So the group originally came up for that reason, I understand, and now they'll be staying overnight this year as well. They'll be riding the day of Friday, August 15th, and they've asked if I could help to arrange a location where they could park when they arrive in town and take a picture in front of the historic downtown facade to match a photo that they have from back in 1934. The group expects about 80 historic cycles and about 100 to 120 people, and they'll park for approximately an hour, take some photos, and be on their way, and then returning to town on Saturday for activities. So I'm requesting if we could possibly close the parking spots on the first block of North Main Street on the west side of the street. And I originally proposed just closing southbound traffic to allow enough room for the 80 bikes to park and not necessary to take both sides of traffic. However, yesterday I did meet with city staff to draw up a memorandum of understanding, and it was suggested that we close all traffic for safety reasons, but just parking on the west side of the street. I have spoken to the business owners on the west side of the street, and none have any objection, and I do plan to speak to those on the east side of the street as well. I just haven't had an opportunity yet. And so that's our request. The times, and I can go over quickly if you'd like. I believe they're in front of you. Parking would be from 3 to 6:30 p.m. on the west, again, the west side of the street, and the road from approximately 4 p.m. until 6:30 p.m. They expect to arrive around between 4:30 and 5 and leave by around 6 o'clock.
Okay. Jeff, somebody just brought this up to me, but that is the same weekend as the Arts on the Square?
That is correct.
Have
Yes.
you talked to them?
I've spoken to the Arts on the Square. We looked at some cross PR opportunities. I also spoke with Chief of Police and the street department to make sure, as far as needs for road closures and safety, that was all addressed.
Okay, and then you're still requesting that the west side parking stalls are closed off, but you're not allowing any traffic through, so you might as well just close down the whole 2 blocks then, on both sides. I mean, that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, we could. I just thought it would be easier for business owners on that side if they have customers that are there after 4 or after 3 o'clock, that they could pull out then. It wasn't necessary to close both sides. We just needed one side closed so they could park and take a photo.
So they're still gonna be able to back out, but they won't be
Correct.
able to go back into those sites?
Correct.
Okay.
And the reason why, we don't get a lot of requests for this, and we're not, it's not our anticipation that every group that approaches us, we're going to come and ask to close a road. But we thought it was a unique opportunity to showcase Waupaca. There is a TV station traveling with them, and we think it'll be a good PR opportunity to get some regional publicity, if not statewide publicity, about the ride. So thought it was a good way to showcase our community.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? I heard about this last week, and I think the best way to sum this up in my mind is that it is an inconvenience for the businesses downtown. We'll see what happens here, and know for the future, I guess, is the best answer that I can give for that. I think we should give it every opportunity to see how well it works first.
And make a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Hagan, second by Fensky, that we approve of the request from the Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce on the closing of North Main Street. Any discussion?
Mayor, is that just the 1 block from Fulton to Session, the closure of the street? Okay.
Yes.
So beyond that, people can drive North Main.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting, that's a good question. Yes. And on that same day, though, East Fulton Street will be closed off also, because there'll be a tent there for the Arts on the Square. I don't know about I'm assuming the parking lot for the City Hall still will be open. That will be closed too, that day?
And Union Street.
And
in front
Union
of-
Street too.
Across from your office will be closed.
So the whole block.
Yeah, so you guys might not want to answer your phone if this doesn't work out right. We'll see like I said, we'll see what happens.
I guess my question is, will be there temporary, like a detour sign to direct people, if they want to get to North Main, how to get there? I mean, without, some strangers in town may not know they can go around the block to Washington and such to get.
Yeah, we've never done that before,
Okay.
but we would have to put a sign like on the corner of Washington and
Yeah.
Fulton Street, won't we, to be able to do that?
Yes.
Mayor, we're proposing road close signs to be available that the chamber would put up, and cones that they would be blocking parking stalls, but I think if someone wanted to go around the block, they would just have to find their way around. Like you said, it's for a couple hours. We had not planned a marked detour route.
Okay.
But we do have city parking lots, obviously, so people can park in those lots and get to the businesses and so on. All right, any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Let's go to approval of plat of survey demarking no building easement between the city of Waupaca Fire Barn and the former Quick Trip properties. John Edelbeck.
I think Brendan's gonna take this,
Okay, Brendan.
We're going to demote this back to John. No, we're bringing this forward tonight as John alluded to earlier, his Public Works Department is working on some projects right now, and the former Quick Trip store was constructed at a time in close proximity to the lot lines that required the parapet wall that you can currently see extend above the roof line for fire protection. Due to the construction, the way that roof and the way it drains, last year John's department had to deal with some internal leakage of water down the walls and some damage on the inside of the Quick Trip building. So some proposals were brought forward of removing the wall, at least bring the parapet wall, bring it below the eave, and extending the eave line out a bit to put actual rain gutter on. And doing that and consulting with the state building inspector, John Anderson, because of the rules and regulations that the state has, originally we would have had to apply for a variance because of the proximity to the lot line and the fire codes that are in place. However, in a compromise with the state building inspectors, as long as we record a no-build zone easement between the former Quick Trip facility and the fire building facility where the equipment is, that would eliminate us the need to go for the variance. The variance is a $700 application fee, and it's not guaranteed. By going this route, we bypass the variance requirement. We record this on property that we already own. Right now, it services as the ingress egress for the fire department in the back, and I believe does provide some access to the police department as well behind the Quick Trip store.
That's our total access.
That is correct.
Yeah, the fire department does not access that at all.
Okay. So
There's no fire department access there,
Just a door.
but no vehicle access.
So this easement is going to be pretty much over the driveway that services the police department right now. And by recording this deed restriction, we can move forward, and John can hire an architect and actually submit plans to the state to actually do the building modification later this year.
Okay. Any issues that we see with this? Chief? No?
Well, I guess, just as long as we have our driveway, I'm not sure how that affects them. 'Cause
Well,
that
it
is
protects you
our-
now because you can't have a building to block it anymore, so
Doesn't affect you.
it does not affect the police department at all. All it is
That's all I asked.
All right. We need a motion then to go ahead with this. Motion by Mayo, second by Olson, that we approve of this plat survey demarcating no building easement between the city of Waupaca Fire Barn and the former Quick Trip properties. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
Jillian Peterson,
Aye.
Deb Fensky,
Aye.
Scott Prochatsky,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
and Alan Keeland.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, next we have a license report number 1239. This is operator's license. That's on page, well, the last page of your packet, page 188. We need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion, we approve license report number 1239.
Motion by Hackett, second by Keelan, was it? I'm sorry. That we approve of license report number 1239. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, and then we had the letter I, but Ellen, did you want to continue?
No, I'm satisfied with the minutes, and I don't know if it needs an approval, a motion to
We
approve.
will need the approval.
I'll move to approve.
Okay. We have a motion, this is to approve the minutes of the city planning since it was pulled off the,
Second?
okay. Motion by Keelan, second by Lockwood, that we approve of the city planning minutes from, it was actually last week, July 9th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Going to issues and discussions, we're going to have that as the committee of the whole after we get done with this meeting. So when we finish this meeting, remember that we'll probably take a short break and then we'll go right into the committee of the whole meeting. Communications, recommendations of the mayor, just a couple of things. We had an individual that, we had a blood drive here this morning on the lawn out in front of Main Street. We had an individual that is in charge of that, came in, thanked us, said It was very well participated, and they appreciated the city use of that property, said it went very well. I know we're going into this on the committee of the whole, but John Edelbeck brought up about Fulton and Hillcrest Street. Remember that that was just in the planning stages, but as you'll see, and you probably already have if you looked at that, Fulton and Hillcrest is to have that redone is top priority on our capital improvements for next year. So you'll see a lot of that when we get into the committee of the whole meeting. And then, Aaron, I hope that although they're disbanding, so I don't know who you give the thank you to, but I think the JCs obviously should get something for their nice donation.
Absolutely. Yep. I'll take care of that.
Okay, great. And South Park is awesome. I've been down there like 4 straight days with my grandkids on the playground, so I think I like it better than they do.
Did you do the zip line?
I fell off. I'm not using it anymore. I just keep going. Okay, we need a motion to adjourn then.
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Lockwood, second by Hagan, that we adjourn till our city council meeting to our next regular schedule one, which is Tuesday, August 5th, 2014. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We are adjourned at 7:02. Let's get back together like at 7:15 if that works for everybody. All right, let's get started. This is a committee of the whole meeting. I do call this meeting to order. You have an agenda. I noticed, Henry, you did do one additional handout. That he just handed out to you. It says at the top, City of Waupaca, value of $100,000 home, 1999 through 2014. That's the heading on it. Otherwise, everything you have in your packet. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve agenda.
Second.
Motion by Keelan and second by Hackett that we approve the agenda with that one addition. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Henry. We are, as you can see in your packet, and hopefully you've all had a chance to take a good look at it, you know, we did not do any capital improvement in 2014 this year, so we are looking at doing a 2-year capital plan, which would actually include 2014, 2015. So this is your first opportunity to take a look at it. We're obviously in committee of the whole meeting, so we are not looking for a decision or can get a decision at this meeting, but staff, Henry and staff wanted to be able to present this to you, and hopefully we can put this on the next city council agenda for some additional discussion and approval or disapproval, whichever you would like to look at on that. So with that, Henry, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Again, just very quickly, there's really 3 main items. One is the CIP, the colored document. And it was a number of months ago, back in January, that the staff discussed this with you guys briefly and reviewed some of the projects. Since that time, we've made some slight changes, but overall, it's very similar to what was presented to council a number of months ago. So that's the first document. And again, I think we're all here to answer any questions you have after I give about a 5 to 10 minute presentation. So that's the actual projects and timing, and if you have questions concerning that. The second document is with the summary on the top sheet with 4 options. And then finally is the distributed sheets today. It's back to back, so there is something on the back. And I'll refer to this later because this is really a history that goes back on one measure about 18 years to sort of demonstrate the historical decisions on taxes made by a number, you've been on council for a number of years, and just wanted to bring that forward so you could see that. So if we could look at the summary sheets with the options, what this is attempting to do is provide sort of a way for you to discuss and get to maybe a consensus tonight. As the mayor said, you won't vote on it officially, but I guess consensus so that staff can begin to put this information in our budgets and then know going forward, kind of where council feels we need to be in terms of our capital. Now, there's a couple things I'd like to say about these options. There are a range of options. I tried to put this together in a way that, there is a range and that, you could discuss individual projects if you wanted to. Maybe you're getting to consensus is coming to a number that you feel comfortable with, maybe borrowing, and then we can work backwards. Again, it's just a way to try to get to consensus. What I've tried to do is show you the budget impact. Now, the assumption that's made here, and all I'm trying to do, this isn't a real sophisticated analysis like you're used to seeing maybe from Brad where he's layered in all the debt payments. This is just simply a way to compare, if you do this option to another, what you might expect the impact to the mill rate to be. And I think it is safe to assume that if you do any of these options, maybe except for option 1, that you're going to need to raise taxes because we will see some tax base growth. And the assumption now, and again, we haven't got any budget inputs from the departments. We haven't seen anything official from the state. But our historical tax base growth is about 1.5%. And any tax base growth, it's my assumption at this point, would be kind of geared towards covering operating expenses, increase commodities, if you choose to give the, any personnel related costs and that thing. So I think you assume here that this would be a tax increase to perform these options. Assumptions, again, just to help with comparisons, all the options utilize a state trust fund loan program that's available to us. And finally, you're going to see in here short-term and long-term borrowing. The long-term borrowing amounts are truly that, where we might issue a 10 or 15-year note and have those payments annually. The short-term borrowing amount is a vehicle for us to basically get our projects in our budget and be able to do it within levy limit requirements. Because with levy limits, you can only go up so much, but borrowing is exempt. So many communities, what they do is they'll set what they want to do with, let's call it pay-as-you-go capital, where you're not really borrowing long-term. You're going to basically pay for them in the year that you purchase them. And this short-term borrowing is a mechanism that we can borrow for 90 days, get the income. Once we get our tax settlements, then we pay back the short-term loan. And that's a loan that we could do locally with a bank. Sure, there'll be a little bit of interest, but it won't be extravagant amount. And it is a way for us to be in compliance with levy limits. And again, for most of you who've been on council for a couple of years now in budget cycles, we've really struggled with trying to get money in the budget to do these kind of pay-as-you-go little items, that might have a useful life of a couple years, but, they're not real big ticket items. And it's been a challenge to try to fund those. So the summary sheet, we can come back to later if you need to. So if you would please go to option 1. Option 1, I guess, is our bare bones option. This would address the immediate need to fix that roof at the rec center. And Aaron's been very thorough. He's talked to a number of vendors that could do that work, and I think we've got a really good budget number on that. And then also the road reconstruction, $200,000. A number of months ago, you approved the engineering for those projects, and we have in the interim, gotten a number of comments back on the condition, particularly of Fulton Street. But Hillcrest Drive isn't the best either. So this option would take care of both of those. And finally, what I'm calling short-term borrowing would get the police department an additional police squad, and maybe Chief can discuss that later if you have questions. We have one squad replacement in the operating budget, if you will, right now. And this would be a periodic, you'd probably see this every 3 or 4 years, this plan, I think. But this would be an additional squad. So if you look at the budget impact between both of those items, the long-term borrowing and the short-term borrowing, it would be about $68,000 to our budget. And that would equate to about 16 mills, which on a $100,000 home would be a little over $16 to the taxpayer to fund that. Option 2 incorporates everything in option 1, but then adds about $120,000 additional short-term borrowing to pay for street signs, a skid steer that the Public Works Department would share with Water and Sewer. This is just the general fund impact. And then a hauling truck for the Public Works Department. And again, combining these, we'd be looking at a budget impact of about $188,000, which would be about 45 mills or about $45 on a $100,000 home for the year. That's option 2. If you have any questions to point date. Option 3 is a little, let me step back and say that what I tried to do with these options is address capital needs in both 2014, which we really didn't address this year, and 2015. And options 3 and 4 really attempt to try to get at some of the projects we have identified in 2015. So option 3 increases the long-term borrowing amount by approximately $500,000. So in addition to the roof repair and road reconstruction, in this option we did move the skid steer and hauling truck up into a borrow because their useful life will be at least 10 years and possibly 15. The new floor in the Augustin gym is proposed under this option, and then a replacement snow plow, and then some dollars, partial renovation of the City Hall Library. And we've talked about that through the past couple years of the projects identified there. There was about $700,000 total in projects. Some of those projects were done through the federal stimulus money. We got a new boiler and did some upgrade to that system and got some funding for that. But under this proposal, some carpeting would be done in the library only, some exterior painting, and then these VAV boxes are a way to control the heat in the various rooms. Right now there's analog controllers, and these are better, more modern devices. So that would get us all new, basically thermostat control units within each of our rooms in the building. For the short-term borrowing, again, if you think of this as pay-as-you-go, we would borrow this money and pay it back with the increased taxes. But we do the police squads, street signs, and then we would begin to address some other needs that I think are really critical. They're not super big dollar amounts, but they're going to go really far, I think, in addressing some items that we need. The first one is financial and utility software. Our system's antiquated. All of you have been seeing the reports. Some of the things that we would like to see from our system are actually considered add-on packages at a couple $1,000s, and just it needs upgrading. And I think with new software, we'll be able to maybe streamline some of the duties, some of the requirements of the treasurer's office. Engineering services, as you know, we've kind of pulled back a little bit on the Public Works facility. The site analysis is really now sort of back to square one on a more traditional process to build a facility of this type, where we would hire professionals to come in. We would identify, half a dozen sites potentially for this facility, and then they would just analyze the sites based on certain criteria. And we think we can get that done for about $30,000. And you can see down below, this would be just the general fund portion, $15,000. The other $15,000 would be split between the water and sewer. The downtown rehab project, the concept planning committee is working along, and I think the plan, Brennan, is to present some recommendations by the end of the year to keep that project moving. The next step, and I like to think of South Park as something kind of a similar process. It took us 4 years in that case, but you get a group together, they sort of vision what you'd like to see. The next step would be to hire some professionals to come in and kind of put some meat on the bones, talk about, identifying concepts, maybe some, preliminary engineering and the like. And we've estimated $50,000 for that effort. And again, like the Public Works facility, we'd split it out 50% to general, 25 to water and sewer each. And this would get us to a point where we would actually have some budget estimates that now we could potentially go after some private money, we could go after grant money, and that. And then South Park, the phase 2, as you know, that grant has been awarded, and we're just getting through phase 1, see where we're all at with the budgets and donor money, and then staff would come back with a more defined project there. Now, on this option, I did show you a 10-year, 15, and 20-year term. In the summary page, the option 3 and 4 are based on a 15-year term. Again, I did it only to make it a little more affordable. And just knowing the council's history, I know a lot of times you do like the 10-year term because you save on the interest. We very seldom have done a 20-year term, and we've done a few 15s, I think. So, again, it was just to try to lessen the impact of the budget. So, in that scenario, you can see that the total budget impact, if you look at the 15-year term, would be a little over $200,000. And it's about 48 mils, so it's about 4 cents more than option 2, but we get a lot more projects. And again, that's about $49 a year per homeowner, or per 100, on a $100,000 home. So again, this option really does sort of bump up the ability to do a lot more projects and keep things really moving. Now, option 4 is the exact same thing as option 3, other than we have bumped up the borrowing $250,000. And that consists of giving the Public Works Department the additional $200,000 to do the road program. And again, that would be $400,000 for both 2014 and 2015 identified in the plan. And then, what was the other?
City Hall.
Pardon?
City Hall.
Oh, yes, thank you. Right, thank you. An additional $100,000 for City Hall, which would really get this building, I think, in some nice shape. Russ has been doing some spot interior painting, and that's been very useful, helpful. But I think a lot of our rooms need attention. The new security system, right now we're a keyed system, and since I've been here, we've changed out those keys twice because of termination of former employees. And there is some money in here because I know Peg wanted to look at refocusing her reference desk. And then there is a little bit of contingency. So under this scenario, again, very similar, but $250,000 more, $300,000 more in a borrow. The impact to the budget would be about 230,000, and that equates to a mill rate of about 55 cents or $55 a year on a $100,000 home. So again, those are the four options. It was just to try to give you a kind of a range of potential, some options, and to try to get a discussion going. So I don't know if you have questions on project-specific questions that I'm sure all of us are here to answer, or do you just want to generally discuss the options? The mayor comes in the room.
Anybody? Want to start?
Let's just start with the layout question. Yellow and the green, what's the difference?
Oh, okay. The green, Dave, are projects that we think we can get grants against. And I know most of those projects, most of them are sort of park projects. I do think we can get some CDBG grants potentially for Main Street once we get some tentative, some budget numbers for the project. And I think it will take some time for council to work through defining what the scope of that Main Street project is, but mainly those are grants. Every project is sort of tied to grant money. The yellow is long-term borrowing, and anything that's not highlighted was sort of envisioned as this idea of pay-as-you-go. You pay for it the year you buy it, pay it off.
What do you think?
Wow.
Good job.
Yeah, excellent. Good information.
Well, I think it's easy to get your arms around, and I think if we can just know kind of where you're going, if you support a borrow, I think probably, Mayor, if we could coalesce around one idea here, probably would have Brad do his thing, so you guys can see how it layers in. Until we get budget all kind of, all our numbers in, it is going to really, you can't say for certain the overall impact.
That was kind of my question, Henry. If we do the 10, 15, 20 year, how does it hamstring us for this 5-year capital plan, 3 year, 4 years down the road? I mean, is Brad gonna be able to tell us, okay, we can't borrow anything for another 5 years, that type of thing? Whereas there's projects coming down the road and we can't? I mean, can we get a gist on that?
Well, I think that would be the next step once you say, these are the projects we want to fund at this point, based on what we know. Remember, you've just passed the debt policy, so those parameters will factor in. And he told me, and I asked him, well, what is the magical number that you'd want to issue bonds with? And he said somewhere around $1 million. So state trust fund, I didn't know this because we've used them in the past. They've changed their policy. They are now more flexible in how they structure your debt, right? But before, we always issued equal level payments, and it was pretty straightforward. They will basically, to set your repayment schedule, if you want to backload it a little bit to get us to the open area, when it's like 2019, Gene, 18, where things really kind of open up for us, and they can structure the debt just like Baird would when they're, selling bonds on our behalf. So I think once you identify kind of an option, then we can run and get to your questions.
Yeah, because I don't want to, 3 years from now, we need to borrow again, and okay, we'll have to raise taxes another, is there a point where we are going to drop, and then we'll have some leeway, or, taxes could stay level because we have the drop, we can, I guess I'd like to make sure we're not, hamstringing ourselves 5 years from now by doing it now, make sure.
Well, I think he can definitely help with this. Now, remember, this is a 5-year plan. And in theory, every year, we should be looking at this and making sure projects that are on here still required. Just like the gym roof, we had that emergency that came to the fore. And we should look at this every year, but, you know, remember, particularly if you do option 3 or 4, we're really going to address a huge part of our 2014, 2015 plan. But, you know, in out years, it would be another borrow, but what that tax impact is, we can look at that
Yeah,
and predict that.
right.
Henry, if we chose 3 or 4, and say like on number 3, the new floor for the gym, say for whatever reason that we can't do that, but we say we approve number 3, is there anything that we can substitute for that money? You know, say we want to do that in a couple more years. Is there something that for 118,000 can we throw back in?
Well,
I just use that as an example.
yeah,
Sure. Sure,
whatever you
absolutely.
want to do. I mean, it's up to council,
Absolutely.
what projects you want to do.
Mayor,
Paul?
I'm looking at this list, particularly 3 and 4, and I don't see anything on here that's extravagant at all. These are all pretty high need deals. I think personally, I'm questioning whether the urgency of the City Hall library renovation is there, but just about everything else I see, this is all pretty critical stuff. I don't know if we need to do the floor right away. I guess I'd maybe ask Aaron on that. Is that floor usable right now, or do we repair it before we use it?
What we'll do right now, and Paul, the kind of what we're looking at doing because of this roof, it looks like it's going to be done in September. If it gets passed through, you guys accept a bid, things like that. I do not want to work on that floor since that could be a 3-week to a month-long project during our busy season. That will likely, I would rather have that happen after May of next year.
Right. Well, this is for 2015 as far.
Right.
So
So in the summer months of that.
okay. Yeah. However, I guess in my opinion, there's nothing on here that I see that's extravagant at all. I mean, these are all things that need to be done. They need to be done soon, and if we just push them down the road, we're going to need to do them down the road, and things just get backed up. We're going to need to do a lot more in a lot shorter period of time for a lot more money. So I think these options are very viable, and I think we need to choose between probably option 3 and option 4 and knock some of these things off in a timely manner.
I agree with you, Paul. My opinion is we go for number 4, just so we can, it's time. We've got to start getting these things done. And as much as, I know I'm going to hear about it, but I don't know how much longer we can wait.
Well, you can't wait on a roof. And,
Right.
And to the people out in the audience, our roads are
Bad.
crumbling. A few of them anyway, not all of them, John. And I'm going to push for, before the Main Street project done, there's a 100-foot section just around the curve on Water Street that if we could even patch that, people would be appreciative. I mean, before the Main Street project. So there's stuff like that.
Patching that, where do you patch it?
No, but I mean,
take a
just
look at
even-
it. I know what you're saying, but we got to overlay it. If you want us to overlay it before Main Street, give us the money to
Yeah.
do it.
Well, that was part of this. I'd say, there's other things.
I mean, do you want us to spend 10,000 up there to overlay that road? Fine, I think it's kind of a waste, but if we're working towards a Main Street project, but we don't have the money to do it, so you direct us as to what you want, but
That's
to
what I'm saying.
patch it,
If
we
we
patch
give you,
it.
if we give you some extra money,
Yeah, but we patch it now and look at it. I mean, where do you patch it physically? I know it's terrible.
Main Street, I guess
agree.
it's just a question, if we give you option 4 with another 200,000 road rehabilitation,
Well,
what are you're gonna pick certain spots,
Yeah, we've got other streets that need work, and I would hate to, I mean, I can spend 10,000 up there pretty easily and overlay that section of road.
Well, me personally, I've been getting a fair amount of complaints about it, and, Main Street may be 5 years down the road, So, I'm asking you, if we give you another 200,000 in option 4, can you take some direction from us?
It's gonna be $10,000 probably to do that. Is that money you wanna spend on that section of roadway, that's your decision.
Okay, good enough for me.
I don't know. I don't know if I would. I know it's bad, but I would wait to get it done with Main Street, but that's council's decision.
John, I've asked you this question before, I know. Just refresh my memory. The Fulton Street project, that the state would not contribute anything to
No,
that?
no, we actually get money from the state to maintain that road, and maintenance, that is determined to be a maintenance project.
Okay.
We were fortunate to have them assist us with the hill, when we repaved Fulton on the hill, but that's unlikely again.
Okay.
So we do get money. We get, Henry can tell you, I don't know how much we get every year, for maintenance of that roadway.
Okay.
Well, Deb, I think, everybody's sensitive to that tax issue. I think that was one of the purposes to kind of give you this third sheet to sort of, paint a picture that I think, it would be hard to argue that the council, this council, previous council has been very sensitive to putting together budgets that don't have as minimal impact to taxpayers. The sheet with a lot of the numbers on it, that's actually 19 budgets. And I kind of ruled out the budget right after the reval that we did in '05 because just by the very nature of it, your mill rate goes down, so I didn't count that. But in 18 budgets that many of you had a hand in putting together, 6 of those budgets raised the tax rate. See, the tax rate is what makes you pay more taxes, right? Unless, of course, you renovate your home or you expand your home or you move into a newer home, a bigger home, more expensive home. 6 of those years, we reduced the tax rate, and 6 of those years, there was no change. So fully 2/3 of those budgets, 12 years, there was really no impact. Well, there was a positive impact in 1/3 of those because the tax rate went down. So I think that maybe helps the pill go down for those people that maybe their knee-jerk reaction is to grouse. But we're Jeannie, help me, we're a $13 million, $12 million operation with all our funds. And those that have, we have to, keep investing in our business. The other sheet, again, this was something I shared with you a number of months ago when we were looking to fill an agenda one meeting. And I just went back because I went back to 99. And you can see a $100,000 home back in 99 was valued this last year at about $122,000. And you can see, and all I did was go to the Department of Revenue and look at their equalized value changes. And, in those down years, you can see 3 or 4 years in a row, 5 years, values actually went down. But back in 99, somebody in that $100,000 home paid about $1,100 in taxes. If they're in that same home, and again, assuming they haven't made any improvements, and everything like that, it's the same $100,000 home, they would pay about $76 more over that, how many years? 15-year period. So I know, and I get frustrated about this a little bit, and this is kind of a side thought that I have, but we always get so focused on city taxes are too high, too high, too high, but what do we get for it? And I don't think we do an adequate job in explaining that. And I'd like to do better on that because the same $100,000 home, remember a few months ago I had the pie charts and showed you, it was about $80 a month cost to a resident for all the things the city does, and what they get for their taxes. So again, we probably got to do a better job explaining what that is and differentiating between what you get in the city versus what you get outside the city, right? Because all the realtors will tell you, people build outside the city, or, because they don't want to pay the city taxes. So I think we've got to figure out how to address that better with the public, and explain what they get for their taxes. And that's my side editorialization, because we were in a meeting today and heard something about it, so. But, do you have any other questions?
We haven't done this in the past. We've always done the general fund budget first, and then we've layered in the capital budget afterwards, and thought it was a good idea to try and do it the other way this time, where we would bring forward a capital plan for you to take a look at and get it in place, knowing that we still have to do the general fund budget, and that could change things. There are some variables, and there's probably many more variables that we can even think of, but one of them obviously is that if we agree to, let's say, option 4, which is $1 million borrow basically, we have to look at the tax consequences along with the tax consequences of the general fund. I mean, if the general fund goes up more than we anticipate, that obviously is going to affect us in trying to borrow money, because as Henry said before, any kind of borrow that we do, especially 3 and 4, is going to raise taxes. So, and we heard tonight that the chief is talking about maybe increasing his staff, and his commission will probably be recommending a 1 increase in staff individual there. So that somehow that has to get eaten up, and there's other expenses somehow that are going to probably rise too. We're probably not going to see any decreases in the general fund there. So we need to look at that. Scott talked about it, and we talked about this at length last week too, but layering in the debt, we have to be careful that when we layer in the debt, that we don't stay even, okay? We want to go down still. We don't want to stay even, and we don't want to go up with the amount of our debt payments that we're making. So as we ask Brad to layer in our debt, let's make sure that we're going down in our debt payments as we do this. And that really depends on whether you agree to a 10, 15, or 20-year plan if you decide to do the $1 million option 4 there. And then obviously, you know, although I don't think this is as big of an issue as it's probably been the last few years, but we don't know what the state of Wisconsin's going to do. We have a pretty good idea, so obviously we have to wait and see what's going to happen there too. So if we decide at our August meeting, August 4th meeting to go with option 4, we're not going to go out and do it right away. That's going to be put in to the plan when we do our budget process for 2015. Okay, so again, I'm sure you could think of some other variables that are there, but those are the 3 big ones that I could think of. But and I appreciate the comments from council, because I know that the staff has worked very hard to come up with a plan that they felt didn't go overboard, but did hit a lot of the necessary needs. Are there some things in here that maybe we could live with for a while? Yeah, there probably is, and we can look at that. I mean, we don't, you know, there can always be a different option in here too. This was a place to start, but if you start with option 4 and you say, okay, let's not do this, so we borrow $50,000 less or $100,000 less, we could certainly do that too. So again, this is just a plan. It was for informational purposes only. We're going to keep moving forward though, so see this on your August 4th city council meeting as an action item. Now, although it's an action item on there, do you have to vote on it at that time? No, we still got time, but it would be very helpful as we get into the budget plan if we did have that action part taken care of. Okay, any other comments from council, staff?
If we did a 15 or 20-year loan, can those be paid off ahead of time without?
Yeah, normally they have like what's called a recall. what do they call it? You can't for a certain period of time.
Right.
Like it might be 8 or 10 years, like on a 15-year.
You're talking about bonds, though.
Bonds.
Right.
Yeah. State trust fund loan, I think you could probably pay off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, state trust fund loan, I can even do those. They're not that hard. They make it really easy. But again, you know, we'd want Brad's help to, you know, give us input on that and how to structure it.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? Looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Lockwood, second by Mayo, that we adjourn till our next regular, well, this is just committee of the whole. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.